People following me on my channel clearly know that the Leica SL2 is one of my most favorite cameras. I love shooting with that camera, and when it hit the market there was one feature not included in the firmware, namely the multi-shot feature, which has now been delivered with the firmware upgrade 2.0. You also find a separate video on my channel on that firmware upgrade and the new functions and features built into the camera firmware. And in this video I'm going to review the multi-shot feature. Let's get started with the video and let's see what this feature is all about. So in order to test the new multi-shot feature, I wanted to go to a location in Zurich where I have plenty of detail in front of my camera. I wanted to shoot into one direction from the bridge and also into the other direction, which you see in a moment. And it was in the evening already, so the light was a bit dimmer, warmer, and actually very good light conditions for testing that out. So let's see how the shooting played out. So the filming of my shooting is a bit shaky because I had in one hand the iPhone and with the other hand I operated the camera. So apologies for the shakes. I'm fully in manual mode here, and multi-shot is under drive mode and you can access it from the status screen. You need to have the camera sturdy on a tripod and it comes automatically with self-timer. So when I release the shutter button now, after 2 seconds, the multi-shot algorithm kicks in and you see it here on your LCD. It says creating multi-shot image, and then there are 8 images which will be taken, shifted in various directions by half a pixel, and later then by an algorithm in camera put together, or let's say combined into 187 megapixel image. So here's another take of a multi-shot just to show you how noisy it was on that bridge, and then as a next step let's look into the results. So I imported now both images into Lightroom Classic, and you see here on the left hand side the bridge view in the multi-shot mode. It's a digital negative, which is great, so that combined image consisting of 8 frames shifted by half a pixel is combined into a digital negative, means a RAW file, so I do not lose information here due to image compression. It has the 187 megapixels as promised by Leica, and you see here the shooting parameters. I was shooting at an ISO of 100. I think that's the ideal setup if you want to test the Leica SL2. And then I had the aperture at f11 and I had an exposure time of 1/15 of a second. On the right hand side you see the single shot. Somehow when I renamed that from the file name as it came out of the camera, I copy pasted from here I guess, and then renamed multi into single, but I forgot to take away the .dng. So there is a double DNG here, don't get irritated by that, that's my typo. But here we have the single shot, and the single shot has now the usual native 47 megapixels of the Leica SL2. It has exactly the same shooting parameters. The images look exactly the same from a distance. We'll go and dig deeper in a moment. And the algorithm of the multi-shot feature in the Leica SL2 is always automatically taking the multi-shot with 187 megapixels, but it also takes the usual native shot, or the single shot as I call it here, with 47 megapixels. Let's now have a closer look at the 2 images and let's crop in a little bit to understand what we gain if we have such a high resolution compared to the native resolution of 47 megapixels. And the first thing to note is that 4 times the native resolution yields the resolution we have on the multi-shot image. And so if we want to compare them and we want to bring the right hand side, which is the native resolution, up to 100%, we actually have to get this one here only to 50%, because 50% is 1/2, and that's basically coming from 2 is the square root of 4. So if we have 4 times the resolution, we only can go half up in terms of cropping in on this side in order to keep, from an image composition and scale perspective, the images comparable and compare it like for like. So let's start with this one here, and let's unlock the locker here, and let's zoom in here by 100%, and then we get some image here. And on the left hand side, on 4 times the resolution, let's go then to 1/2 and let's zoom that in. and now we have them like for like next to each other. And the first thing that I think occurs to me when I look at this is these images still look exactly the same. There is not a big difference here. You don't see any eye-catching differences. They are both very detailed. They are both very sharp. Let's maybe look around here to that tower. Let's do the same on this side here. Let's move up to the tower. I think you can already see here there is a bit more, I don't know, it appears a bit more contrasty here on that side, but in general these images are very much comparable. And here's the first conclusion I want to bring out to people who watch this video here. You don't actually need a multi-shot mode because 47 megapixels gives you such plenty of reserves for cropping in, and you can print the right hand side image with a side length of 2 meters without having any pixel artifacts or anything distracting or disturbing. So 47 megapixel really is a high resolution. But I come to a situation later where it might be useful to have actually the multi-shot mode, and we'll look into that in a moment. So just from looking at those images, I think they are both nice. They both reveal plenty of detail, and therefore I think we can just conclude here that up to the native resolution, so here we cropped in by 50%, here by 100%, there is not any noticeable difference. Let's for a moment think about resolution here. So on the right hand side, the native resolution, let's look at the X resolution first. That's 8368. If we multiply this number by 2, we come to the left hand side multi-shot resolution on the X direction, which is 16736. And the same applies to the Y direction, so 5584 times 2 is 11,168. So here we have in both coordinates, of course, a factor of 2 now, so the double one-dimensional resolution. But since we are talking about the square on the sensor, we have a factor of 4 here, so 4 times 46.7 megapixels on the right hand side. Native resolution is 186.9 megapixels on the left hand side, which is the multi-shot resolution. Now let's have a look at a different image. So on the left hand side we again have the multi-shot, and on the right hand side we have the native resolution with close to 47 megapixels. So what I want to do now is I want to do a deep, very deep crop into the image and see if this 4 times resolution reserve on the multi-shot is really making a noticeable difference if we go deeply into the image. So here is the part of the image where I will crop in to exactly that size in Lightroom, and let's see what we get. So this is what I see when in Lightroom I crop into that tiny little rectangle you saw in red before on the full frame, and you see there is again no noticeable difference here. Both images look really good, and again I confirm my first statement that the native resolution of the Leica SL2 already is a very strong resolution which enables you to crop deeply into an image if you want. So let's take this a little further and let's crop in further into the image to see what we find. And by the way, important to note, I'm not a pixel peeper, so this is to test the resolution reserves on that multi-shot feature, because I think you can fairly well argue about the meaning of cropping deeply into an image, and I come to that point at the end of the video when I draw my conclusions. So here's what we get if we go even deeper into the resolution of the two images, and here you start to see differences between the multi-shot on the left hand side and the single shot on the right hand side. The left hand side multi-shot is more contrasty, and the right hand side on the single shot becomes a bit more fuzzy. And as a last step, we are now going even deeper, and then we reach the resolution boundary or hard limit or hard stop of the Leica's native resolution of 47 megapixels. Let's have a look. We see now on the left hand side these switches on the train are still recognizable, whereas on the right hand side with the native 47 megapixels you see it only in pixel artifacts and it's no longer what it used to be. So here the deep resolution of the multi-shot really starts to kick in. Now, serious photography has nothing to do with pixel peeping, but there might be situations, or there are situations thinkable, where it can become meaningful to deeply crop into an image. And here I simulate a situation where the Aposumicron 35mm f2.0 is mounted on my Leica SL2, and I have this tiny little toolkit on the ground floor here, and let's say I can't get closer to that subject which I want to take a photo of. So then I can use, of course, the multi-shot, but only if it is a still subject. Underline still here, because if the subject is moving, like you want to do a macro crop into an image from a bee hovering over a flower, that will not work because the image needs to be still. Or I should say the subject needs to be still. But here, let's see if we crop in, then the subject is actually getting close like it would appear in a macro shot. And clearly on the multi-shot side, left-hand side, you still have a lot of pixel reserves in terms of resolution, whereas on a single shot we will start to bleed out in a moment. Because when we further crop into the image and zoom in where I now have these red rectangles indicating the next crop, then it starts to become more and more pixel based on the right hand side on the native 47 megapixels. I guess you can see this even better if we crop in another time here and go to the maximum magnification or crop which Lightroom allows for on the multi-shot as well as on the single shot. And then it becomes pretty clear that we crossed the pixel boundary of the 47 megapixels on the native shot and still have reserves on the multi-shot. Another interesting application could be that you stand on the bridge, I'm now looking to the other side, and that I have no telezoom lens with me, and I want to have a tiny little part of my image in front of me or my scene. And then of course, if you have the reserves of the multi-shot, and again, if it is a still subject, you can basically create via crop a simulation, quote unquote, of a telezoom in the same way as we simulated a macro by crop in the previous discussion point. So here's the crop, how it comes out of the camera in single shot, 957 times 639 pixels. That's good maybe for a smartphone, but is not even getting close to full HD resolution, so not suitable for social media in general. But if you go to the multi-shot, you get kind of a full HD resolution, which gives you more reserves and will look better on certain devices. There are two more things to briefly mention. First of all, in the settings for multi-shot, there is the motion artifacts correction. I recommend to keep this on, although I think that if you keep it off, the image will get a tiny little bit sharper, but that's just a working hypothesis. I have to confirm that. And the second one is that any tiny little vibration on the tripod, the camera will note and will bring an error warning like you see it here, in order to make you aware that if the camera is not sturdy in a sturdy situation, multi-shot will not work. In the next couple of weeks I will do another comparison because I want to test the multi-shot 187 megapixels on the SL2 and compare it with a native resolution camera with 150 megapixels, namely my Phase 1 IQ4. Stay tuned on my channel so you don't miss that review and in general any content uploaded by me on Math Photographer. Wrapping up, my conclusion is simple. The new multi-shot feature of the Firmware 2.0 on the Leica SL2 in rare occasions is a fantastic feature to have. It gives you much more resolution reserves. Having said that, I will use it only on rare, underline rare occasions, because the 47 megapixels where I have the full flexibility, I don't need to be on a tripod, I can actually deal with vibrations and shakes via in-body image stabilization, is plenty enough for me in almost all of my shooting situations. So it's nice to have it. It is delivering what Leica promised. It's a good feature, but it's nothing you will use in your day-by-day photography. If you liked that video, don't forget to drop me your thumbs up. Thanks for watching, stay safe and healthy, and peace out.